To Paul Scholes, legend on the pitch. He's given us a quote tonight that I think is going to be really good to get into. I'll tell you what that quote is in a moment, but let's get into the show. I want to talk about Pep versus Ten Hag. I want to talk about Martinez versus Harland, and I want to talk about Ten Hag's biggest test of the season so far, because it certainly is, and his biggest test as a Manchester United manager, of course. And just to add a little bit of context, the quote I'm talking about from Paul Scholes is this. Rafael Varan, as great as a player he's been, he's not a great footballer. And neither is David De Gea, and this is why Man United are playing more direct. I think there's some interesting layers to dig into there, because we've had the De Gea conversation. Is Rafael Varan now a problem in this team on why we can't pass out from the back? I really don't think so, but we can delve into that because you might have different opinions on it. And I certainly want to talk about this massive, massive game we've got on Sunday and the intricacies of where the battles are going to be won. I know I did the preview this afternoon, but so much was about the team selection, so check it out. But there's a bigger picture with Ten Hag and Pep, and I've got quite an interesting angle that I want to get into about it. But before we get into all of that, you may well see there is a QR code next to me with the name Manscaped above it. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. We're sponsored by Manscaped, so what does that mean? Basically, it means that you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with this big beauty. It is the Manscaped 4.0. It's got a light on it for a more precise shave. It's got adjustable lengths. It's got electromagnetic induction, battery, wireless charging. It's got a really powerful engine. It's for doing the business down there, lads. I'm not going to skirt around the issue. In fact, that's exactly what it does. It skirts around the big issue in certain cases to make it look cleaner, better, and more productive. So if you want to get yourself some A-star tiered male grooming products, then Manscaped is the place to get it. Delivered to your door worldwide, 20% off. Link in the description, scan the QR code. They've also got the performance package where you can get this little beauty as well. That's not for the back door. This is for the nose hair or the ear hair. Imagine if they had a special one. I wouldn't trust anything there. I know you can get hair there, but I wouldn't trust anything around there. God, not blind. Imagine that. No, don't imagine that. I don't even know why I did that. Anyway, I love doing these integrations, as you know. They are fantastic products. The performance package, you get this and this, a little travel bag. You get deodorants and all sorts, performance boxer shorts, the lot. These are fantastic products. So good that they just come on when I talk about them. They love it. They're excited. They're ready to go, and they could be in your bathroom kit very, very soon. Scan the QR code, go through the link in the description. They're really, really good products. And I love doing it. I love doing it. I love doing that. I love using that, and I love talking to you about them. So big shout out to Manscaped. It's Thursday night. You can tell the Premier League football's back because we're in a good mood, aren't we? Right, let's get into the show. Thanks to Manscaped. We are going to talk about Ten Hag against Pep Guardiola. I'm so excited about this. I want to talk about Martinez, Harland. I want to get your thoughts as well. And I do want to get into what Scholes said. I love Paul Scholes. He's one of the best footballers I've ever watched. Love him to bits, but he's not. He's like anybody else. He's like Gary Neville, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham, Roy Keane, legends of this football club. I don't have to agree with everything they say as pundits. I don't have to. If it's not for the back door, what have I been doing? Says Sean. Lovely stuff. Okay, let's go. So, Ten Hag used to be a reserve coach for Bayern Munich under Pep Guardiola, probably around the sort of years of 2013, something like that, maybe 2014. I don't remember the exact date. So, he is definitely a disciple of the Pep way of playing football. We spoke this morning. I don't know when he didn't manage in Italy. I can actually speak Italian. I don't know why I put that silly accent on. So the reality is that he is a Dutch coach who is certainly educated in the ways of the Van Gaals and the Johan Cruyffs and the Ajax history and all that sort of thing. That cannot be disputed when it comes to Ten Hag. But he's also educated in the way of Pep Guardiola, which is not Dutch origins. So this is going to be a really intriguing game on Sunday because Pep, if Ajax were playing Man City, they would play very different to the way Man United are going to play Man City. And I've not really heard anybody say this yet because I think it's probably one of the most important things to acknowledge going into this Manchester derby is that if Ten Hag was taking his best Ajax side, so the one that got to the semi-final, maybe he thinks that's his best side, maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But if Ten Hag was taking his best Ajax side to the Etihad on Sunday, they would play completely different to the way that Manchester United are going to play on Sunday. And do you know why? They would play differently because that Ajax side could play the way he wants to play football. However you want to define Ten Hag ball, you define it from what he did at Ajax. And look, lazy. I get fed up with saying it myself. This is a high line defensively. This is 70% possession. This is creating lots of chances. This is dominating the ball, keeping the opponent in the opposition's half, forcing them to counter-attack you at speed. This is what it is. It's possession football. It's entertaining. It's chance creation. This is Ten Hag ball. And if he was taking his Ajax side to the Etihad, he would try and do that. Or would he? He'd certainly have the tools to do it. He might go there and go, Man City are too good for me to go toe-to-toe with them. I am going to play a little bit defensive. But the fact is he could go and do it. He could do it because his team can do it. Whether he chose to do it or not, he could. Very different game on Sunday. He can't go and do it even if he wants to do it because he hasn't got the team to do that yet. And I think it's so important to acknowledge it because I think we're so early into the Ten Hag journey. So early into it. He can't even do it. You know when you get up early in the morning and you might be able to run a marathon, you try and do it in the morning. Some people say, well, I can do it, Mark. But you know what I mean? We're very early into this journey with Erik Ten Hag. So early that he actually hasn't got a team that could even go toe-to-toe with Pep, whether he wanted to or not. So we're going to approach this game in a very different way. And I think it's important to acknowledge that because we're absolutely nowhere near understanding what Ten Hag can do with Manchester United. You cannot judge him yet because he actually hasn't been given the time to build what he wants to build yet. So the reason I say that is because I think Ten Hag would love to go toe-to-toe with Pep Guardiola. Of course he would. Of course he would. Because you think about it, right? You think about this. If you are somebody who is in admiration of somebody, you know, when I was growing up, Roy Keane, yeah? So Roy Keane is my idol when I'm growing up. And imagine I end up making my debut for, I don't know, Everton when I'm 18 in centre midfield and Roy Keane's 32 and we're playing Man United. I absolutely love Roy Keane, but we're going head to head in the midfield. I want to beat him. I want to beat my idol because I respect him so much. And this is what Ten Hag will want to do to Pep. He respects him. It's somebody that he's learnt a lot from, but he wants to beat him. At the moment, he's not able to do that in the way that he wants to do it. So whilst it is his biggest test on Sunday, and I've gone a long way around of saying this, it is his biggest test on Sunday, but he ain't going toe-to-toe with him. He is, because it's Man United against Man City, but he's not going toe-to-toe with him in the way that he wants. And if he was to lose on Sunday, he'll learn a lot from that. And in his head, he'll be like, well, look, I'm nowhere near where he is yet. He's built a team, he's been here for years, and we've got to get to that. Been enjoying your streams. Keep it up, Mark, says Bama. Thank you very much for your generous super chat there. So, look, yeah, I think it would be... I think it's a really exciting game and I can't wait to see it. And it is Ten Hag against Pep. And we'll get a lot of hype about that over the next few days. But I don't think it's like Conte versus Arteta where it's two very equal teams and it's very exciting. I think Manchester City's journey and resources and structure is completely different to where we are at the moment. And in effect, Ten Hag is going to the Etihad with Etihad. Talking about Manscaped again. Etihad with... I'm getting excited about the Etihad. We are going... And Ten Hag is going to Manchester City with one arm tied behind his back. And you've always got one arm tied behind your back with this ownership anyway, but that's not what I'm actually talking about. He's going to the Etihad with one hand tied behind his back because he actually hasn't got the team that he wants yet. So I'm really excited about it. But I think what we're getting on Sunday is Ten Hag's coaching ability to stop Man City. That's what we're getting in a sentence, isn't it? We are getting Ten Hag coach trying to stop Man City. Do I like that? No. Is it completely realistic? Yes. We're not going to Man City on Sunday to go toe-to-toe with them. I think Jurgen Klopp can do that with Liverpool. I think he can go to the Etihad, be a bit careful, but say, look, I fancy us, let's do it. I've seen him do it. But we can't do that. We can't go toe-to-toe with Man City at the moment. We couldn't go toe-to-toe with Arsenal or Liverpool at home. So we're not going to the Etihad to go toe-to-toe. We're going to the Etihad to try and stop Man City and have a game. We're going with the game plan. Stop Man City and try and get a result. And what we're looking for in the future is that maybe next season or the season after that, every time we go to the Etihad, we become more of an identity of Ten Hag, and therefore we become more of, we want to implement our game on them. We're not going to implement our game on them because we don't have that game yet. But I think we're more than capable of stopping them. I can't wait for it. Mark, if we win, would you say Ten Hag has exceeded your expectations for this season already? No, Rash, no. Because you can win in so many different ways. I was thinking about this today. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a time a few years ago, probably about a year before Ollie got sacked, and it was around the end of November, and there was talk of, I think there was talk of Pochettino getting the job then. It was before he went to PSG, and it was around the start of December, and we had Spurs with Mourinho and Man City with Pep back to back, and everyone was saying, well, that's the end of Ollie. He's going to lose his job. And we beat Spurs. I think it was the time where he put his hand on Mourinho's head. And I'm pretty sure we beat Man City as well. So we have beaten Man City with Mourinho, with Ollie, when Man City are way better than us, but we've managed to get a result. We could win on Sunday, and we could do it in a way where it's smash and grab. We could do it in a way where we totally deserve it. But I don't think Ten Hag will have exceeded expectations because in my mind, and I think many United fans' minds, whatever the result on Sunday night, we're still going to be in the same position as we are here tonight on Thursday night. That team needs loads of work, loads of time. It's going to be a long journey. Beating Man City on Sunday night won't mean we're suddenly title contenders. We're still going to have a lot of work to do. So I'm quite relaxed about the result in a way because it's a free hit in a sense. But I want the positive result because that breeds confidence and positivity. And we'll get to our destination quicker if we're happier and more confident. The bold head derby, the bold guys, says Brandon B. Well, yeah, look, I think we're going to be so focused on defence, which actually I want to talk about Martinez versus Harland, but I've got to bring this in. So I don't know whether many people have seen it. The Gary Neville and Paul Scholes overlap. Fantastic. Really, really good. Really insightful, especially as a United fan. You know, Scholes is just an amazing player and listening to him talk and that. But what he did say is that effectively he was talking about Ten Hag and how he's gone more direct. And he name-checked two players in that, Scholes. He said that, you know, Rafael Varan, as great as a player he's been, is not a great footballer, and neither's David De Gea. Now, we've spoken about David De Gea until the cows come home. Mark, is this City team Ten Hag's target in 3 or 4 years? I think it is, Anthony, yes. Thanks for the questions tonight. Nearly fell off there then. I went like that. Did you see it? I went to go like that and I sort of stopped. I saved myself. I was like that. Yeah, it was an amazing overlap, Chris. But I disagree with Scholesy on this because I don't really understand why Varan gets name-checked. I understand why David De Gea gets name-checked because everybody knows that he's got to improve massively with the ball this year, and look, everyone's going to keep an eye on that. But name-checking Varan in the same paragraph as David De Gea as a reason as to why we've gone direct, I'm sorry. I am never going to be, and never was, the magician that Paul Scholes is with the ball. But I have to disagree with him on this. What is the context of Rafael Varane's not a great footballer? Are we talking about his ability to pass out from the back? Because I'm sorry, I've watched him for years play with Real Madrid and France, and they are both teams that bomb forward and leave two centre-backs on their own. And those centre-backs have a lot of the ball. And correct me if I'm wrong, the game we played against Moldovan side just before the international break, Rafael Varan and Lisandro Martinez had more passes and more touches than anybody else on the pitch. I mean, he's not Chris Smalling on the ball. He's more than capable on the ball, and especially as a centre-back. So I'm a little bit intrigued as to what this not great footballer is all about, because Maguire's no better than him. Maguire's not a better footballer than Raphael Varane. Absolutely not. In fact, I think Varane looks more comfortable on the ball than Maguire. I'm not saying Maguire's bad on the ball. I don't think he is bad on the ball. And Lindelof's not bad on the ball. But I don't think Varane is like, you know, Chris Smalling or someone like that. I don't get why Raphael Varane is now being mentioned in the same paragraph as David De Gea as not a great ball. I presume we're talking about not a great ball player. I just don't get that. Maybe I'm missing something. I've never heard that before. And I certainly don't think that Raphael Varane is an issue in our centre-back. In fact, I think he's solved an issue. Martinez is the best ball-playing centre-back we've got. I mean, he's basically a bloody centre midfielder. His technique and control and balance and readability of the game he is basically a centre defensive midfielder. But Raphael Varane has actually made that defence better. He's made it more likely to play a high line because he's quick. I don't see Raphael Varane as a problem in that team that's stopping us from being a footballing side. I don't. I agree with the David De Gea thing. We all know there's work to be done there and maybe the work won't get done. But with Raphael Varane and Martinez, the only issue I've got with Varane is his ability to stay fit. I do not see him as a position that we've even got to look at if he can stay fit. He's more than capable of passing out from the back. He's more than capable of playing a high line. In fact, he's the most suitable player we've got for a high line because he's the quickest. He's also very good in the air. He's very good in one-on-ones, and he's more than capable on the ball. So I don't see the Varane weakness there. Maybe I'm wrong. Wonder if a false nine and pack the midfield with Eriksen, McTominay, Casemiro would get the job done. Well, I mentioned it on the preview, Luke. I did, and I think it's not a bad idea. Have you seen the Jordan Peterson interview with Morgan Pierce? He talked about Ronaldo and the problems he is facing. He is helping Ronaldo psychologically. No, I haven't seen that, tell I? What score do you think it will be, says Darren? Well, you need to check the preview out, but I went with a 1-1. But Varane is a much better centre-back than Maguire. He just brings calmness to our back line, says Edward. I mean, it's not about Maguire versus Varane because it can be Lindelof versus Varane. It can be Twansebi versus Varane. It can be Ben White versus Varane. It can be Gabriel versus Varane. It can be Eric Dyer versus Varane. They're all losing. Bring me another one. There's not many centre-backs in world football that I'm going to have a debate with about Varane. So I just don't get where the Varane thing came from. And like was just said there, I think he's been pivotal. And the person I listen to is Ten Hag. I mean, I have my opinion on football. It might be completely wrong. But what did Ten Hag say after that last game? Varane has brought a calmness and leadership to that centre-back area that has solidified what Manchester United are doing. So, no, I don't see Varane as a problem at all. And, you know, I love Scholesy and I completely agree with what he's saying about De Gea. But I wanted to bring his comment in about Varane because I found it so foreign in the sense that it just was, you know, it was, I mean, I don't really have words. And what I mean by foreign is obviously French Varane. There is, I don't know, it always seems to be the foreign players that get mentioned because I suppose if I'm going to hit what I mean straight on, Scott McTominay's having a really good season, but he's only averaging 30 touches a game. That's terrible. So he can't play in a possession-based team then. But he's playing well and maybe he can be developed into that. Harry Maguire's having a terrible season. He's not a great footballer either. So I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't get it. Is it English bias again, Edward? Look, I'm not in no way. I love Paul Scholes, so I'm not going to accuse him of English bias. But I think we all know there's a collective English bias. It appears to be. And I think that with the ex-players probably comes down to the fact that they know a lot of the players that are English. Maybe they don't have relationships with that. But I mention it because, you know, I respect like Paul Scholes. I know that I love Roy Keane, but there's some things he said I just completely disagree with. Like the tackle on Luke Shaw that he said was a fair tackle when he snapped his leg. I thought it was a disgraceful tackle. But, you know, you don't have to agree with people that you respect highly. But I brought it in because I wondered if I'd missed something. And from the chat, I don't think I have. I've just never, that has never entered my vocabulary about football. You know, Lukaku's first touch is shit, but he's good in the penalty box. You know, Zlatan is very, very slow now, but if you give him a chance in the box, he's bloody amazing. But Rafael Varane's not a great footballer. Is not something I've ever really heard, and I don't think it's that. I don't think it adds up. Because if he wasn't good on the ball, I don't think he would have been at Real Madrid or France and won what he's won. I don't think you can get away with not being a good footballer for a decade when you've played at Real Madrid. You know, Chris Smalling is quick, he's strong, and he's a good tackler. He'd never play for Real Madrid or Barcelona because they want more than that. You've got to be competent on the ball. Now, of course, if you compare Varan to somebody like Modric or Eriksen or De Bruyne, he's not a very good footballer. No, he's not. But compared to centre-backs, he is. There's not many centre-backs in world football that are massively better on the ball than Rafael Varane. There's one or two, but I don't think there's loads. And he certainly isn't restricting us playing out from the back. What's restricting Man United playing out from the back at the moment is a multitude of things, but most important of all, it's the fact that the first two games of the season terrified Erik Ten Hag, and he wanted to go more defensive and deeper, and he wanted to stop conceding goals, and therefore we've become a bit of a counter-attacking team. But we will become a better team in possession when we get a midfield that's capable of doing it, and an attack. We've still got players at the moment that aren't comfortable keeping the ball for long periods of time. We've got what I call blame shifters. And what I mean by that in a footballing sense is they get the ball and they want someone else to do the work because they're not confident themselves. Or they move away from the ball because they don't want the ball. And a lot of that's a hangover from last season. So many players last season, whether it's with De Gea, whether it's with the centre-back, they turn their back and they don't find space because they don't want to take responsibility. It goes back to what I was saying this morning about leaders. To be a Manchester United player, you've got to find that ball and you've got to want that ball. Michael Carrick was brilliant at it. He'd find the space to take the ball and take the responsibility. Eriksen wants to do it. We will become a better possession-based side when we've got 11 players that want to take the ball no matter what. I want the ball. I want to help you take the ball. At the moment, we've got people who get the ball and are just thinking about getting rid of the ball. Or we've got people who hide away from the ball because they don't want the responsibility. So we will become a better possession-based side when we've got leaders who want to take the ball off in any situation. And I certainly think Varane will take the ball in any situation because that's what you've got to do if you play for Real Madrid or France. Do you think Van Gaal does us a favour by making us lose out on Timber and getting Martinez instead? Mandy, I think it's a great point. I think that I'll never forget that Timber was the priority this summer and we ended up with Martinez. And I hope that Timber still comes to Manchester United because Ten Hag... I mean, all I would say is if Ten Hag wanted Timber over Martinez, how good is Timber? So I hope Timber does come to Manchester United. But what I will say is Martinez suits us now better than Timber. If Timber was playing centre-back with Rafael Varane, he's a young kid learning his trade. You put Martinez there, he's a bloody leader. So we have definitely landed on our feet getting Martinez over Timber because of his personality and his suitability. But I do hope we get Timber in the future. I don't think McTominay averaging 30 passes a game is a concern. Ten Hag is definitely telling him not to get on the ball and just break up the play, says Rory. I think it is a concern, Rory, because I think if you want to be a possession-based team, you can't have one player who's taking the ball 60, 70 times in the midfield in Eriksen and then one who's taking 30. It's the most... If I'm playing Man United, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to swamp Eriksen and just leave one person on McTominay because he has to get on the ball more. So I disagree with you, Rory. McTominay's got to get on the ball more. And he can do it. I thought he played really well for Scotland in the international break. He's got to get on the ball more and he's got to take more responsibility. Because it's like having a really good left winger and a right winger who's out of form. What do? It's what teams used to do to us. We used to be good down the left and shit down the right. So the teams had just swamped that side, nullifiers. So McTominay, Casemiro, whoever plays there, they've got to get on the ball more to balance the midfield and give Eriksen more space. So I think it is an issue, really, in the longer term, if you want to play a possession-based football. Talking about Martinez against Harland, it's an interesting one because Martinez and Harland will come into contact a lot because Harland moves around a lot. And Harland will try and attach himself to Martinez. But ideally, we want Varan against Harland because Varane's quicker, stronger, taller and more than capable of dealing with somebody like Erling Harland, who is at the moment probably the best striker in the world, by the way. So even if we had the best centre-back in the world, and I think Varan is banging form at the moment, it only takes one moment. Varan can play brilliant for 89 minutes. 1 minute, switch off, and Harland does it. I remember speaking to a centre-back about this, a very, very good centre-back who used to play for Manchester United, and they said this. They said, as a centre-back, it is so hard when you've had a really, really good game and you've dealt with a striker all game, and then a cross comes in that deflects off somebody, completely makes you lose your position because it's deflected, lands in the path of the striker who whacks it in and wins the game. And everyone goes, you've lost your man. And it's that one. A striker only needs 1 minute. A defender can be brilliant and just get unlucky or make one mistake and they've had a bad game. So let's not forget that on Sunday. Erling Harland only needs one chance. They've got to keep him quiet for 90 minutes. But we will be trying to get Varan on Harland because it's a better matchup. But what Harland will do, in the genius he is at the moment, and what I would do and you would do, is when the ball's out wide with Kevin De Bruyne, you're going to try and get yourself close to Martinez because you're a lot bigger. So Harland will attach himself to Martinez as much as he can because that's the one that he's going to feel he's got the advantages over. But I think Martinez is going to kick him, and I think he's going to kick him as early as he can, and I think it's going to get physical between those two, and I think he's going to try and rile him. And I hope Michael Oliver lets the game go on Sunday, by the way. It is a Manchester derby. He's messed one up before. If you can remember rightly, he sent Chris Smalling off on the game when Joe Hart ran the length of the pitch and basically put his head on Michael Oliver's head. He should have been sent off. So Michael Oliver's got history for ruining a derby. He's got to let this go because Martinez's big advantage is to rough up Harland in this game. So I can't wait to see it. You could analyse how it's going to work, but I think ultimately Varan and Martinez need to have the game of their lives, and they've been playing really well lately. And we've got to try and get Varan on Harland as much as possible. But Harland will shift. And if he shifts, Varan can't go with him. So Martinez is going to have to deal with him as well. But it's not just about dealing with Harland for Varan and Martinez. What about when you've got runners from the midfield like Bernardo Silva and stuff? The midfield have got to go with those runners because that's where space comes around as well. It's going to be so interesting and we're going to defend a lot. Excited for the Bold Guy derby, Mark, says Brandon. Martinez has played against him before versus Dortmund. Says Soraya. I mean, I don't know what the relevance of that is, Soraya, but other than a stat. He has played with him before, yes. He played against him before. Nobody's saying that they haven't played with each other before, but it's Man City against Manchester United in a Manchester derby where Erling Haaland's in the form of his life and Martinez is in the form of his life as well. Like, they're at the biggest clubs they've ever been at and they're both playing fantastically well. So it will be billed as the game. And trust me on this one, there will be plenty of pundits, ex-players, etc., who deep down will be thinking, I need Harland to score a header above Martinez so I can go, he's small. There's a lot of people who'll be thinking that. There's a lot of people who'll be thinking deep down, if Harland sorts Martinez out, it's redemption for me. But I don't think it is. I don't think it's redemption for anybody that wants to criticise Man United centre-backs if we concede a goal from Harland. We're playing the best team in England, one of the best teams in the world, at their own ground, against one of the best strikers in the world. You can't. It's impossible. It's impossible to go into that game and say, we're going to keep a clean sheet and shut them out. They're an amazing side. We might shut them out, but what I'm saying is we don't need to. If Harland does score and Man City do win, it doesn't mean it's all over for us. There might be reasons why that happened. We've just got to go into this and come out with credibility. So that's what it is. It would be good without Casemiro and Scott as CDM, says Tashi. Thank you very much. And we will lose with Ronaldo, says Anthony. Mate, we won't lose with De Gea. We won't lose with Martinez. We won't lose with Ronaldo. We won't lose because of McTominay. We won't lose because of Rashford not being fit. We won't lose this game because of any individual. We will lose this game because of the team. When I managed at the weekend, charity game, some people wanted to go on Twitter and say, Goldbridge, you'd have won that game comfortably if it wasn't for certain people in your team making mistakes. What's my response to that? We're a team. I'm not interested in individual mistakes. I'm not interested in that because as a team, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And we are a team. Manchester United is a team. So I'm not looking for, we lost that game because of Ronaldo. We lost that game because of this. We lost that game because of that. We're a team. That's what Manchester United is. And this fan base needs to get back to doing that, because so much of this fan base is about that. I look back to the David Moyes times, the Van Gaals, the Ollie times. Everyone knows those managers needed to be sacked, but the away support is singing their name, like they did Rangnick, like they will Ten Hag, because we're a team. We've got to stop this individualisation of, this player, that player. I want Casemiro to play on Sunday. If he's not starting, I'm not going to go, fucking hell, where's Casemiro? We're a team. We're a team. We need to support this team. If these players are giving, we've got to give back. Last season was very different. People will say, well, you weren't supporting the team last year. You support, respect is earned, basically. Trust is earned. Paul Scholes said it in his interview. It looked like some players were taking the piss last year. Really good interview with Scholes. He listened to it. He said, it looked like, I don't agree with all of it, of course. I don't agree with the Varan bit, but that's life. But he said it looked like players were walking around taking the piss last year. So no, they didn't deserve our support last year because they weren't playing as a team. This team's playing as a team. We need to respect it as a team. That's what we need to do. Anyway, I've got to go because I've got to go and do something. But thanks everyone for watching. Really appreciate the show tonight. We've got Ten Hag's press conference tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like on the video. Don't forget Manscaped. You never will forget Manscaped if you watched the show earlier. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Delivered to your door. 20% off. Free worldwide shipping. Scan the QR code. I was close for that. Scan the QR code. I'll go through the link in the description. Thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed the show tonight. Really pumped up and exciting. Shouldn't be mentioning that after Manscaped. Really pumped up and excited about the game at the weekend. And I'll speak to you tomorrow for the press conference.